Okay, so I'm going to use Explored here, and just going to demonstrate kind of a new skill, keeping keeping in line with what we've done before. So let's say we have a question like, okay, I'm going to see if I can. Here's my pencil. Okay, question number one. And this is question number one. All right. So, and our question is, what is, oh gosh, yeah, using this. I'll probably type this out rather than using this function, but bear with me, guys. What is 15%? So we're going to say 15%. Look at my percent. Oh my gosh. My five even. Okay, 15% of 20. 20. Now, if you remember earlier in the year, we did, oh, let me give it a question mark, because it is a question. And earlier in the year, let's see if I can change the, oh no, change the color. We did something like this. So this is what we did in the past. We converted 15% to a decimal, 0.15, and we might have multiplied it, yes, by the 20, like this, okay? So there's my decimal, you see that? And hopefully you remember those skills, and if not, then I will let me know, and I'll put up some work for us to be reminded of these skills. I'll do it over here on the corner so we can see it. 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0. So I'm just going to, I can put my zeros in. I'll do that. And then I put a 0 here to go to the next over here. The tens column here, the 2 times the 5, which is 10. Carrying the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Oh, look at that. This answer is going to be 300, but I'm not done because I'm working with a decimal. Have to put the decimal back into my answer. So I count how many places the decimal takes up. Well, 1, 2. And then I come down here to my answer, 1 and 2. So my decimal is going to live right there. And so really my answer is a whole number 3. Do you see that? Okay. So that is the one way we can do this, but there's multiple ways. And this next way in which we can find out what 15% of 20 is the new way that I want us to practice. And it's just another tool, and it's just to make our minds think about math a little bit differently than we have, but building on the skills that we have, and then moving into what we're going to need for 7th grade. So 15%, I'm going to write this as a fraction. Oh, what is 15% as a fraction? So this is what I'm going to do. So we're going to set these up as proportions. If you remember proportions, well, that's kind of what we're going to work with right now. So 15% is 15. Let me change color here. Get my handy dandy eraser, and I'm going to erase that. Oh, I erased my what. Anyway, hopefully you remembered that what was there. And I'm going to change my color. And anyway, here's what. I'll bring that back. Okay, so 15% is 15 over 100. Yes. Yeah, we all remember that. 15% per 100. There it is. 100 is equal to, because 15% over 100, 15% of 20. So if 20 is 100%, if 20 is 100% of 20, I want to know what 15% of 20 is. And that I don't know. So I'm going to put a little n right there for the number I'm looking for, which is what is 15% of 20. So I'm thinking 20 is 100% of what I'm looking for. So if I was looking for, you know, 20, if I was looking for 20, I'd be looking for, 20 is 100% of 20. Think about it. If you're working on a test and you get 20 out of 20 questions, you got 100%, right? That's basically it. But I want to know what 15% of 20 is. Now, some of you might already, well, I know. Plus, we did it over here in the corner, right? Okay. But what if we don't know and we didn't do this step here? We already figure out what the answer is. And this is a different way of solving this problem. Okay? So 15 over 100, and number question, what is the number that's going to be 15 over 100? Now, if you remember our proportions, well, you could just be thinking, oh, well, 100 turns into 20 by me dividing it by 5. So if I divide 15 by 5, I have 3. 3 is my number. And you would be right doing that too, and that's really smart. But what if we didn't know? So let's pretend for a minute that we don't know. That we can't do that very easily. And sometimes we are given numbers that we can't easily reduce and solve and see the connections. So what I'm gonna do is use this thing called cross multiplication as a step. Look at cross multi you get cross multiply, we'll say cross multiply. Okay, we're going to cross multiply. So when we talk about cross multiplication, I always start with the bottom number, which is the denominator of the first fraction. See how we set it up as two fractions? Two proportions, really, but yes, fractions. Also see them as fractions. And this is the denominator of the first. I'm going to multiply by the numerator in the second. And when I do that, and we have this weird thing where it's going to be 100n, which is just 100 times that number that I don't know. Yeah, I don't need to put a times there. It's implied when I do 100n. It's times that number. I've just multiplied those two together. There they are, right? 100 times that funny number that I don't know. So I get 100n. And then I'm going to do cross multiply here the denominator of the second to the numerator of the first fraction, which is 20 times 15. Now I know some of you are going, well, it's kind of hard. I can't really do that. I'm going to have to do all these extra steps. Well, I want you to start to think about this. And this is how I kind of work with numbers like this. I mean, you should put the 0 aside and then multiply by 2. 15 times 2 is 30, and then add 0. You could do, so we're using all those mental math skills, right? 15 times 2 and adding which is 30, and then add in that 0. Oh, it's 300. You can also think of it this way. Another way to think about it is, what if you're not thinking that, but what are you thinking about? How about 2 or 20 times 5, which is 100, yeah, and then 20 times 10, because there's 5 ones times 20 is 100, and then 20 tens is 200. Yeah? And then I can just add those together, break it down that way, and I get 300. I mean, there's several ways you guys can do this. Whatever's easiest, but I just want us to, whatever way your brain works with numbers the easiest and best, whatever method you have there, you should get this as your next step. So 100 times n is 100n, And 20 times 15, 300. Now we're going to divide both sides, both of these numbers, by 100. Anything we do on this side, we're going to do to that side because they're at proportions. They are equal, they're proportions, they're proportional, yeah, and so they're balanced. So we want to keep the balance going. So I'm going to divide that by 100. When I divide 100 by 100, I get 1. And so I'll have 1 times this number, 1. And 1 times any number is, of course, itself. So I'll just put n. And then I get 300 divided by 100, which is 3. So our number in the end, their missing number, our number here, what is 15% of 20? Well, it's 3. There we go. Yay, we've got it. So that is cross multiplication using our percents. Yeah, using percents, cross multiplying to solve for a missing number, right? So I'll do a couple more for you, but yes, see how you do with some of these. All right, I'll give you a couple and then we'll do them together. All right, so in our next video.